Welcome to the deep dive. Our mission today is pretty focused. We're really tackling the big stuff: connection, confidence, charisma.
Yeah, we've dug into a really comprehensive guide on social skills, mastering small talk, all that good stuff.
And we're not just giving you a summary. Nope. We're pulling out the absolute best, most actionable strategies so you, our listener, can turn those, sometimes daunting social moments into real opportunities for connection.
I think it's crucial right from the get-go to nail down the core idea here. Connection, well, it's fundamental for happiness, job success, just life satisfaction.
Right.
But the skills you need for it, charisma, confidence, these aren't some magic gifts only extroverts get. They're skills. Just like, I don't know, cooking or swimming.
Or learning an instrument. Yeah.
Exactly. Things you learn, you practice, you hone over time, you make mistakes, you learn from them. Trial and error.
Okay, let's unpack that. There's a great story in the sources that illustrates this perfectly. Let's talk about Kyle.
Kyle, yes.
He's at his sister's wedding. Should be a happy time, right? But for him, it turns into this moment of complete social paralysis.
Yeah, and context is key here. Kyle was carrying a lot. He was recently divorced, almost 2 decades of marriage gone. So he gets to the reception, surrounded by relatives, people he kind of knows, maybe doesn't know well, and he just freezes.
Yeah.
Mentally freezes. Someone comes up to congratulate the couple, and he literally cannot think of what to say.
That feeling where the words just evaporate, it's awful, so isolating. And he has this light bulb moment, doesn't he?
He does. A really startling clarity. He realizes just how much his ex-wife, Kathy, had, well, carried their social life.
She was the engine.
Totally. She asked the questions, steered the small talk, made introductions. Without her, he's just hit by this wave of anxious thoughts. What do I say? Do they even care? Am I interesting? Just this internal spiral.
And that leads to, what, generic small talk? Awkward silences?
Exactly that. And this is where the sources really analyze the why. Kyle's anxiety, it wasn't just random stage fright. It stemmed directly from his sense of self, his identity, being so wrapped up in his marriage.
Okay.
When that ended, his whole frame of reference vanished. That deep uncertainty, that lack of an internal anchor, it just manifested as extreme social anxiety. He couldn't connect because he was, well, adrift.
That story really sets the stage perfectly for, how you approach making a change. If you listening recognize yourself in Kyle's situation, the sources lay out 3 really essential things to focus on.
Right. Education, awareness, and practice.
Okay, break those down.
So education is basically what we're doing now, getting the knowledge, the information, the strategies. Awareness is the next crucial step. It's applying what you learn, but also, and this is key, recognizing your own patterns. Noticing when you succeed, and maybe more importantly, noticing when you fail or freeze up.
Yeah.
Like what thought exactly triggered that panic?
You have to catch yourself in the act, basically.
Precisely. And then practice. Consistent, small steps. Repetition. It's like learning to swim. You can read all the books you want, but eventually you have to get in the water.
Right, you actually have to do it. And it seems like before you even dip a toe in that water, you need to know where you're standing. Which brings us neatly to phase 1, the internal foundation. Everything starts inside.
Exactly. Before you can communicate effectively outwards, you have to build that internal foundation. Your sense of self, that's, your big picture view of your beliefs, your purpose, who you fundamentally are.
If that's shaky, everything else is built on sand, right?
Absolutely. If you don't have that grounding, your interactions always feel like you're putting on a performance. And that's exhausting. It's not sustainable.
And I think we often downplay how much that lack of self impacts everyday choices. If you're not sure who you are, you just grift. You become uncertain, indecisive.
You get that chronic anxiety, dissatisfaction, just like Kyle. He was adrift because he hadn't figured out his mission outside of being Kyle, Kathy's husband.
This ties directly into living authentically, doesn't it? There's a quote from a counselor, Erica Myers.
Yeah, she puts it perfectly. Knowing what comes from our own self versus what comes from others allows us to live authentically.
Authenticity. That means accepting the whole package, right? Flaws, strengths, all of it.
Yes. But the big trap here is what the sources call the false sense of self.
Explain that. The false self.
It's that identity you kind of absorb from other people's views of you. Like the example given. If you had a partner who constantly called you lazy or incompetent, you might actually start to internalize that label. You believe it's true, even if all the evidence, like your work ethic or accomplishments, says otherwise. You end up acting out a role someone else wrote for you.
That's powerful. So how do you dismantle that false self and build the real one?
Well, the sources recommend a really practical exercise. They call it checking in with myself, usually through journaling. And it's about asking yourself the hard questions, not just, what did I have for breakfast? But like, what kind of person do I genuinely want to be? What am I truly passionate about? Things I love, even things I hate. How much control do I feel I have over my life right now?
And the emphasis is on spending time with the difficult ones, right? The ones that make you squirm a bit.
Exactly. Because those questions force you to define your core values. And once you nail those down, your sense of self starts to take shape through the actions you take based on those values.
So there's the link. Value leads to action.
Yes, if you genuinely value, say, health, then the action's starting to work out. Eating better naturally follows, even when you don't feel like it, if you value connection.
You have to be the one to organize plans, reach out, make the effort.
Right. The sources had a great example. Someone realized they valued connection, but they were spending like 6 hours every weekend playing video games.
Not inherently bad, but
But it didn't align with that core value. So they made a conscious choice. Cut the gaming down to 2 hours. That freed up 4 hours specifically for organizing hangouts, calling friends. That action, driven by the value, reinforced their sense of self and led to better balance.
makes sense. But getting that clarity, figuring out the values, that requires space, doesn't it?
Definitely. The sources call it proper you time. We're constantly numbing ourselves, right? Streaming, scrolling, just staying busy.
Mm-hmm.
You need that quiet time, whether it's journaling, meditation, even just a quiet walk. Time to actually listen to your own thoughts, process your feelings. If you don't do that reflection, you just keep running on autopilot, making the same social mistakes without even realizing why.
This internal work feels like laying the groundwork. You can't be a confident speaker if you don't know what you actually stand for or want to say.
Precisely. Once that foundation feels a bit more solid, then you're ready. Ready to tackle phase 2, core communication skills. And where do we start?
With perhaps the most underrated skill of them all, listening.
Absolutely. Listening is the bedrock of connection. Every single person, deep down, just wants to be heard and understood. It's fundamental.
And good listening actually makes you a better speaker, doesn't it? It seems counterintuitive.
It does, but studies back it up. Active listening makes you clearer, more concise, because you genuinely understand the context, the other person's world.
Okay, the sources break listening down into 2 main types. The first one is probably the default for many of us, listening to respond.
Oh, yeah. This is when you've basically already decided what you're going to say next. You're not really absorbing what they're saying, their feelings, their points.
You're just waiting for a gap.
Exactly. Waiting for them to take a breath so you can jump in with your pre-planned comment or story. And that just signals, hey, I'm not really interested in you, just in using this pause to talk about me. Kills connection instantly.
Right, so the ideal is listening to understand.
Yes. Your goal here is totally different. You're aiming to grasp the facts, sure, but also the feelings, the thoughts behind the words. You're showing genuine curiosity, empathy.
Let's bring back that anecdote about the vegan daughter. That really highlights the failure of listening to respond.
It does. So the daughter explains her choice. She mentions specific health benefits she's noticed, and also her concern about the environmental impact of meat.
Mm-hmm.
She's sharing her personal values, her reasoning.
Okay, makes sense. And the father's response?
He completely bypasses the health stuff, the environmental angle, just shuts it down with, well, I just love steak too much.
Oof, and the mom jumps in too.
Yeah, jumps in to agree with him. Or delicious steak.
Yeah.
They weren't listening to understand her. They were stuck in their own narrative about steak. They missed a huge chance to connect with her on what actually mattered to her. They just heard threat to dinner plans.
So how do we avoid that? How do we actively practice listening to understand? What are the actionable steps?
Okay, first one, give full attention. Sounds obvious, but it's huge. Minimize distractions. Put the phone away, like physically away, or at least flip it over.
Yeah.
That visual cue tells the other person, you have my focus.
Okay. What about when your mind wanders? Because it does.
It always does. There's this little trick. Focus intently on the center of your palm. Just stare at it for a second.
Your palm, why does that work?
Because your brain is terrible at multitasking. Forcing that intense, narrow visual focus interrupts the internal chatter, the part that's planning your reply. It yanks you back to the present moment, back to the speaker.
Huh. Sounds weird, but I can see how that might short-circuit the brain chatter.
It does. And this kind of focus training isn't new. There was a Harvard study way back in '57 showing that techniques like this boosted listening skills by like 40%.
Mm.
It proves listening is trainable.
Okay, so full attention, palm trick if needed. What else?
Hear the other person out. Really finish listening before you think about responding. Avoid interrupting. We interrupt, usually because we're scared we'll forget our brilliant point.
Guilty.
We all are. But interrupting just signals impatience, disrespect. You have to be willing to let your point go just for a moment to actually respond to their point.
And use your body too, right?
Absolutely. Body language is key. Face them, open posture, no crossed arms, nod occasionally, appropriate smiling. Those little verbal cues like uh-huh or show you're engaged.
And the final piece, repeating back.
Yes, repeat back for clarity. You can paraphrase. Okay, so what I'm hearing is, or just repeat a keyword they use with a questioning tone, like exhausted.
And that does two things. Confirms you understood and makes them feel really heard.
Exactly. Deeply validating.
Okay, so listening is fundamental. Once you get a handle on that, the next core skill is asking good questions.
Oh, the questions are everything. They guide the conversation, they clarify things, they help you find that all-important common ground.
The sources mention three main functions of questions: direction, clarity, and understanding. Let's take that awkward Monday morning chat. Someone asks how your weekend was. You say, fine, watch some Netflix. Dead end.
Total conversation killer. That's where direction comes in. You take control. Instead of letting it die, you ask a directed question related to their dead-end answer.
Oh, yeah.
What did you watch? I'm actually looking for a new show. Maybe something like
You.
Pivot. You pivot. From a boring summary to a shared interest, now you're talking about something.
Okay, second function, clarity. The example was the colleague with the new dog.
Right. If you don't know dog breeds, asking what breed can fall flat. Shows lack of interest or knowledge. Instead, ask a progressive question.
Like?
Oh, cool. How's the little guy settling in? If they mention a problem, like he's chewing the sofa.
Then you use clarity questions.
Exactly. Really, is it all the time or just like after walks? You're drilling down, getting specifics, showing you're actually curious about their situation.
And the third function, understanding. This feels more empathetic.
It is. Continuing the dog example, you might say, could be his age if he's a puppy. Have you thought about training classes? Or maybe talk to a vet? You're showing you care about their challenge, not just making chit-chat.
This really highlights why those generic starters, like how are you, often fail. They're just transactional, no effort in, no connection out.
Totally. The sources offer a great toolkit of better go-to questions. For meeting someone new, instead of the weather, try. What was the highlight of your week?
Ooh, I like that. Positive framing. Forces them to share something meaningful.
Or are you working on anything exciting at the moment? Gets past the job title.
And for professional settings, instead of just, what do you do?
Ask something that invites a story. How did you get into this industry? Or what's the biggest challenge you're tackling in your role right now? Much richer answers.
And for fun, dating, more personal chats.
Get a little playful, maybe abstract. What animal do you think is the absolute cutest or ugliest? Or what's a trend you just never understood? These cut through the surface level.
Good ones. Any final rules for asking questions?
Yeah, two big ones. First, keep them open-ended. Use what, who, how. Avoid questions that just need a yes-no. Open questions invite stories.
Makes sense. Closed questions kill conversations.
They do. And second, know the line. Especially early on, steer clear the really sensitive stuff. Race, sex, politics, religion. Save those for relationships with established trust.
And adapt your style, right? Social hierarchy.
Crucial. You wouldn't use the same slang with your boss as you would with your best friend. Adapting your language shows respect and makes the other person comfortable.
Okay, so we've got the internal foundation sorted. We've got the core skills of listening and questioning down. Now we move into phase 3, the conversation playbook. Applying it all. Step 1, first impressions. Reading the room.
Yeah, reading the room is vital. The analogy used is a substitute teacher walking into a class.
Right, the kids immediately test the waters. Strict. Pushover.
Exactly. They're reading the teacher to figure out how to behave. We do the same in social settings. We assess the environment, the person, to gauge the vibe. Formal, casual, high energy, low energy.
And nonverbals dominate here, right?
It's hugely. Remember those stats. 55% body language, 30% tone of voice. The actual words are just a small fraction. Your body is broadcasting signals long before you speak.
So what cues are we looking for?
Posture, are they open, closed off, crossed arms? Legs might signal defensiveness. Hands stuffed in pockets, maybe hiding something, or just nervous. Lip biting often means pressure.
And trust your gut.
Absolutely trust your gut. That research on the London traders is fascinating. The ones most tuned into their own body's signals, their intuition, actually made better, more profitable decisions. Your body often picks up on subtle cues your conscious mind misses.
Okay, so you read the room, then you have to write the room. Take control of your own presentation.
Exactly. This is about controlling what you project. Your dress, your tone, your body language, try not to fidget. The firmness of your handshake, your eye contact. You're consciously crafting the impression you want to make.
I like the observation about kids. They just act without all the filters. They want to play. They walk up and say, let's play.
Right. They write the room with pure confidence because they're grounded in what they want. Their confidence dictates the interaction. We need to recapture some of that directness.
That confidence leads directly into step 2, making the first move, overcoming that breaking the ice anxiety.
Yes, so much pressure gets put on that initial moment. Fear of rejection, fear of judgment. It can be paralyzing.
The advice is, cut the fluff, just do it.
Pretty much. Making the first move puts you in the driver's seat. Studies in business, in dating, show that the initiator generally has more success.
But here's the mental trick. Reframe the goal. Don't aim for the huge outcome, right?
Exactly. Don't focus on, I need to get this date or I have to land this client. That's way too much pressure. Focus on the tiny, immediate goal. Like, my goal is to have a pleasant 60-second chat. Or, my goal is just to ask one good question.
Lower the stakes, lower the anxiety, makes sense. And for those initial icebreakers, keep it low commitment.
Super low commitment. Use the immediate environment. Things like, excuse me, do you know where the restroom is? Or, have you tried the food here? Is the pasta any good? Or even just, wow, they have great music playing here, don't they? No personal info needed, just a simple shared observation.
Easy entry point. Okay, conversation started. Step 3, finding the connection.
Now you shift focus. Look for similarities, common ground, shared interests, hobbies, reactions to the situation, like commenting on the band, like you said.
And this is where mirroring comes in.
Yes, the mastery of mirroring. This is consciously, but subtly, copying the other person. Their tone, their posture, their body language, even the speed they're talking.
Why does that work so well?
That Anderson study showed people just felt more positive, more connected to strangers when mirroring happened, even if they weren't aware of it. It builds subconscious rapport. Your body is basically saying, hey, I'm like you. We're on the same wavelength.
So you match their speed, volume, gestures, energy level. If they're slow and calm, you slow down.
Exactly. It helps bridge that gap quickly and creates that feeling of, me too. Especially when you then discover a shared interest, a sports team, a favorite author, whatever.
Okay, but what if, despite all this, the conversation is still struggling? Or you sense the other person is holding back? Step 4, addressing obstacles.
First, remember you can always politely exit. It was great chatting, but I need to grab a drink, find my friend, catch my train. Always have an exit line ready.
Good safety net. But what if you want to get them to open up more?
This is where the sources mention the elicitation technique. Sounds a bit formal, like the FBI method they reference, but it's really about building trust non-coercively.
How does that work in a normal conversation?
It taps into that fundamental human need for acceptance. Giving a genuine compliment or offering recognition can lower psychological defenses.
Like?
Sincere compliments. I really love that scarf. The color is amazing on you. Or recognizing effort.
Wow, the way you explained that complex idea was incredibly clear. It makes people feel seen, valued, and often more willing to share.
And paradoxically, complaining works too.
Mutual complaining. Yeah, it sounds negative, but sharing a dislike for something minor, the long queue, the bad coffee, the terrible traffic, creates instant low-stakes bonding. People complain like 15, 30 times a day, often just to initiate connection.
Like the detectives in Breaking Bad using compliments.
Exactly. They use validation. You're a smart guy, Jesse, to build rapport and encourage the person to talk, even under pressure. It makes the person feel understood, less guarded.
Okay, that covers the playbook. Now, phase 4. Mastering and application. Let's start with mastering small talk. We had listening, questions, minimizing distractions. What's the 4th core strategy? Enthusiasm. This is the secret sauce that turns boring small talk into something memorable. It's not just what you say, it's how you say it.
So literally acting more energetic.
Yes, play with your volume, vary your tone, emphasize keywords dramatically. Think about the difference between saying, I got a new cat, versus,
oh my gosh, I got my new W cat over the weekend and she is so cute.
Exactly. Amplify your body language too. Use your hands. Be expressive. It makes even simple topics feel dynamic.
And being open about how you feel, not staying neutral.
Definitely. If you agree strongly, say so with energy. If you disagree, don't shy away from it respectfully, of course.
Yeah.
I actually see that differently. I really feel like passive agreement is boring. Polite, enthusiastic disagreement can spark great conversation.
How do we find engaging topics beyond the obvious? That bus stop example was great.
Right, the pivot from boring rain talk to, if this bus could take you anywhere right now, where would you go?
Instantly reveals a passion, maybe travel, maybe warmth.
Exactly. It bypasses the superficial and taps into values and desires. You then share your passion. You guide the conversation away from the mundane into something meaningful.
So safe go-to topics are still okay. Weather is a starter, entertainment, pets.
Yeah, those are fine entry points. Weather, books, podcasts, sports, appropriate personal stuff like heritage or pets.
But the list of topics to avoid is crucial.
Super crucial, especially with new people. Keep away from finances, too personal; religion and politics, too divisive initially; death loss, too heavy; sex, obviously; health, well-being, avoid playing doctor or therapist; gossip, makes you look bad; offensive jokes, comments on physical appearance, especially age weight; talking about exes, and this is a big one, droning on about your niche hobby if the other person clearly isn't interested. Read the room.
Excellent checklist. Okay, next, charisma and confidence. They're linked, right?
Totally intertwined. Charisma, the sources say, is partly about owning the situation, managing your nerves. And a key way charismatic people do that is by focusing on the process, not the outcome.
Like we said before, enjoy the conversation itself. Don't fixate on getting the date or closing the deal.
Exactly. Takes the pressure off. Another huge part of charisma, remembering names. Dale Carnegie's famous quote,
A person's name is the sweetest sound.
in any language. Use it. Repeat it back immediately. Great to meet you, Sarah. Create a mental link. Maybe Sarah has striking silver earrings. Be present when you hear it.
And charisma involves giving more than you take.
Yes. Lifting others up. Genuine compliments. Validation. Giving them your full attention without needing anything in return. Make them feel like the most important person in the room for that moment.
Okay, and confidence. The advice is often fake it till you make it. Is there actual science to that?
There is. It's not just wishful thinking. It links back to the Hebbian principle. Neurons that fire together, wire together.
Meaning,
Meaning by acting confident, even when you don't feel it, you are literally rewiring your brain. You're building those confidence pathways. Think of Tony Robbins bouncing on a trampoline backstage. He's physically building energy and state before going on.
but before the physical stuff, you have to tackle the mental blocks, the limiting beliefs.
Absolutely. Things like imposter syndrome. I don't deserve to be here. I'm going to be found out. You have to identify those negative thoughts first. The exercise suggested is picture a situation that makes you anxious, like a big presentation, and list all the fears that come up. Just getting them out helps.
And then the physical hacks, like Amy Cuddy's power poses.
Yeah, the Harvard research is compelling. Standing in a high-power pose like the Superman, hands on hips, chest out, or the CEO pose, leaning over a table for just 2 minutes.
Actually changes your body chemistry, huh?
It lowers cortisol, that's your main stress hormone, and it increases testosterone, which is linked to feelings of confidence and willingness to take risks. You're basically tricking your physiology into a more dominant, confident state. Easy to do in a bathroom stall before an event.
Clever. What about eye contact?
Crucial for connection. Most people only make eye contact 30–60% of the time. You need more like 60–70% for real emotional connection. If direct eye contact feels too intense, try focusing on just one of their eyes or the spot between their eyebrows.
Good tip. And finally, for confidence, slow down.
Yes. Talking fast is a classic sign of nerves. Consciously slowing your pace makes you sound calmer, more deliberate, more in control. Aim for around 190 words per minute. Sounds slow in your head, but it's comfortable for the listener.
Okay, confidence covered. Let's talk storytelling that lands. The sources argue everyone has stories, even if they think their life is boring.
Right, because you are the only person on earth who has lived your exact life, made your exact choices. That uniqueness is the source of stories.
The trick is finding the killer plot line, making the mundane interesting.
Exactly. Add conflict, a twist, some stakes. Instead of just saying, I manage a supermarket, frame it with drama.
Like the example. I manage a supermarket, but sometimes I feel like I'm a detective. The other day, I had to go full Mission Impossible, tailing a guy through the aisles.
C. Instantly engaging. Action, stakes, a little humor. You find these stories by paying attention. Journaling helps. Meditation can surface memories, or just intentionally putting yourself in slightly novel situations.
For shorter stories, there's the 1.1.1 method.
Yeah, super useful for quick anecdotes, one action, one sentence summary, one Emotion keeps it tight.
Give me the example again. The dropped food one.
Right. Went on a date last week, immediately dumped my pasta in my lap. Action. Didn't know what else to do, so I just bolted from the restaurant without a word. Summary. Utterly, completely embarrassing. Emotion. Quick, relatable, memorable.
And for longer stories, the Pixar structure.
Yeah, this gives a framework for more involved tales. It helps organize details around the emotional journey you've got. Setting the scene, introducing character situation, introduce the conflict, the big turning point, explore the consequences, find the resolution, and then the aftermath or lesson learned.
Let's walk through that structure with the story from the sources, the dog running in front of the truck. Tell it using those steps.
Okay. Setting the foundations. Driving home late, quiet suburban street, maybe 30 millipore, radios on low. See hazard lights flashing up ahead.
Introduction. Pull over. See a tiny Shih Tzu, totally terrified, darting into the road, almost gets hit. Owner's nowhere in sight yet.
Conflict the flip moment. Just as I get out, this huge semi-truck comes barreling down the street. Didn't see the dog, didn't see me. The dog panics at the noise and bolts right in front of the truck. My heart just stops.
Consequences. Truck slams on brakes, air horn blasts. Dog keeps running like crazy. Elderly owner rushes out, sees the truck, collapses in a panic attack on her lawn. Now I'm chasing this fluff ball through yards, trying to keep it away from the road. Chaos.
Resolution. Just as I'm about to lose it behind a bush, a jogger sees what's happening. He calmly blocks the dog's path, scoops it up. We get the shaking dog back to the owner, who's now crying with relief.
Aftermath. The owner hugs us both like really hard, drive away feeling this massive adrenaline dump and relief, and maybe a mental note to keep my windows up next time I attempt an animal rescue. See how the structure gives it shape and impact.
Totally. It turns a sequence of events into a compelling narrative.
Okay, we're nearing the end goal. Phase 5. The ultimate goal, developing meaningful relationships.
This is what it's all for, right?
Mhm.
Moving beyond just surface-level chats. The difference between 1 million contacts and 5 real friends.
And the benefits are just staggering. Health-wise, meaningful relationships are, as one source put it, the healthiest thing you can do for yourself.
Wow.
Studies link strong relationships to living longer, better mental health, more self-confidence, way more resilience when things get tough.
That hill study metaphor is perfect.
Isn't it? Standing next to a friend makes a steep hill look less steep. It's exactly how friendship helps us face life's challenges. They literally feel less daunting when someone's beside you.
But it's harder now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Technology gives us this illusion of connection.
Yeah, social media can feel like connection, but it's often shallow. Plus, our lives are just busy. Work, side hustles, family. Genuine connection takes intentional effort. You have to fight for it.
That pottery class story really drove home that it takes time. It did. The parents found the initial small talk with other parents, well, kind of boring. Just logistics, kid stuff.
But they kept showing up.
They kept showing up, week after week, sharing little bits of their lives. And eventually, that surface chat with one woman, Maisie, deepened. It turned into real trust.
So when Maisie got sick,
They were there. These weren't just pottery acquaintances anymore. They supported her through cancer treatment, helped out, even took a trip together afterwards. That depth only happened because they invested the time, even through the boring beginning stages.
so what are the core principles for building that kind of depth?
Spend actual time together. Create shared memories. Even video calls count if you can't be physically present. Support each other, especially through the hard times. And maybe most importantly, be yourself. Real friends accept you, quirks and all, even as you change and grow.
And just like starting strong, ending conversations well matters too.
Absolutely. Leave a positive, lasting impression. Have those exit lines ready that keep the door open. It was really great meeting you, Name. I'd love to connect. Are you on LinkedIn, Instagram, or let me know how that project turns out.
Wow. Okay, that was a deep dive indeed. We went from understanding that social skills are learned, not innate,
Right. Starting with that internal work, defining your values.
to mastering the core skills.
Yeah.
Deep listening, asking powerful questions.
And applying the playbook,
Mm-hmm.
reading the room, making the first move,
Mhm.
finding connection through mirroring, handling obstacles.
Layering on charisma and confidence through mindset and even physical posture, telling compelling stories.
And finally, bringing it all together to build those truly meaningful relationships that make life richer.
The journey from being like Kyle, frozen in the corner, to someone who feels confident and connected, it really is possible. It's all practice.
Every single skill we talked about, from listening intently to doing a power pose, it's all learnable, all refinable.
So the final thought we want to leave you with today is this. Your time is your most valuable resource. This week, Instead of just letting it slip by with passive scrolling or old routines, think about how you can consciously invest some of that time.
Maybe try that new hobby you've been thinking about. Take a different route home from work. Volunteer for an hour. Or yeah, maybe even approach one stranger with a low-stakes question.
Do something, anything, that gives you a new experience, a tiny story worth telling next week.
Take that small step. Start gathering your stories.
Until next time on The Deep Dive.